Batman Superman World's Finest issue 20 finds the Flash traversing the Speed Force, where he sees various worlds of the multiverse. Barry knows from experience that many worlds are identical to his, but some vary wildly and each exists in its own vibrational frequency, which he can match with his speed and gives him the ability to begin to map the multiverse. He tells his friends he does this for strategic moves, since you never know where your next allies or enemies will come from, but in reality, Barry likes to see how differently their lives will develop across different timelines. As he speeds through the various worlds, Barry knows while there are many same worlds, some changes cause serious alarm. Suddenly, a red streak blazes past him as he sees images of a world filled with older versions of the heroes he knows, as well as a monster that is facing off against them. On Earth Zero, Batman, Robin, and Superman face off against Villainy Inc., a group of primarily Wonder Woman rogues. Robin can't get a hold of Wonder Woman on the comms, getting ready to fight the villains without her, but suddenly they are all apprehended by the Flash, who quickly tells Superman that he's got good news and bad news. He tells his friends that he has found David, Superman's former partner, within the multiverse, but something is terribly wrong. Superman begins to remember how David told him the ship that brought him to their Earth was invented by his parents, and could use its hypertime drive to go into alternate realities. David joins Superman as the Boy Thunder, using his powers to help Superman, but a villain known as the Key activates his ship, and it pulls itself and David through to another world, leaving Superman and Batman without a way to find him. Batman asks if Superman is okay, but the Menace still asks Flash to explain the situation, so they head to the Batcave, where Flash says that he only saw fleeting moments of David, but it looked like he was being menaced by something unfamiliar. He reveals that he built a cosmic treadmill in the Batcave and it should be enough to get them to the world he has designated Earth 22, but he warns the heroes that it's primarily meant for him and for people with the Speed Force, so they might experience some temporal displacement at first. Flash makes it known that the unrefined nature of the design also could spit them out elsewhere and not just Earth 22. The heroes understand the dangers but still go, activating the treadmill, and Superman runs them to Earth 22. Upon arriving, the heroes find that they aren't fully synced with the vibrations of the world, meaning they currently appear like ghosts and can phase through solid objects. Superman soon spots an older David, calling out to him, but Batman figures that since they are not in sync with the vibrations, he can't hear them, and besides, it looks like David is paying attention to someone else. Superman spots the older Superman and Bruce of Earth 22, who are paying their respects to the dead Blue Beetle, Power Girl, and the Ray. Clark thinks that their counterparts must be devastated to have to bury 3 of their friends at once, but Batman points out that it's not just them, as they have arrived at a graveyard filled with the graves of thousands of dead heroes, many who Clark and Bruce knew personally. Bruce finds the grave of Red Robin, wondering aloud what in God's name happened to this world. Suddenly, the heroes catch a flash of various heroes and villains before they find themselves on the roof of the Daily Planet. Superman finds that they are on the same Earth but a few years earlier, and they are now temporally synced with the Earth, meaning they are solid. He spots the older Superman across town, wanting to go and introduce himself, but Batman doesn't think he should yet, since his instincts are telling him to lay low until they can learn more about Earth 22. The duo change and head to the Planet Krypton restaurant, spotting more differences to their world, like the hero called Booster Gold, someone Clark and Bruce have never heard of on their world. Bruce thinks that this Gold fellow seems to think a lot of himself, noting the gaudy decor that makes the restaurant look like a giant trophy room bigger than the ones Batman and Superman have. The two order food and take in their surroundings, talking about how Barry mentioned that David was under attack, and he noted the older David was sporting some serious scars. Bruce tells Clark not to concern himself until they have learned more, and if the Superman of this world is anything like the Clark he knows, David will have found a guardian in him. Clark still wants to tell the boy that he would never abandon him, and Bruce doesn't think that Clark of all people should be worried about leaving a bad impression, asking what Clark's plan is once they get David back to Earth Zero. Clark knows that the boy staying with him isn't a long-term solution, and Bruce knows that Clark can't exactly adopt the boy, and he was only able to take Dick Grayson in thanks to his name and money, using both of them to bend the rules, but Clark is just some lonely bachelor who is rarely home. So you wouldn't exactly call that a stable environment, and besides, CPS would be watching Clark Kent like a hawk, endangering his secret identity. Bruce thinks that it'll all be solvable and maybe this world's Superman has it figured out. Clark doesn't like that he keeps comparing him to this world's Superman since they aren't the same, since he can't get the images of that cemetery out of his mind, since how dedicated is a Superman who would ever let something like that actually happen? Bruce doesn't want to jump to conclusions just yet since they don't have the specifics, but Clark tells him that Superman failed to save his friends, and that's unacceptable. Bruce tries to reason with Clark, and they don't know what really happened there as Clark spots a real Justice League casebook in one of the display cases around the restaurant. He looks over it with his X-ray vision and it reveals to him that this world ironically has had no interaction with other Earths or the multiverse, and is seemingly cut off from them. Suddenly, Clark hears something, grabbing Bruce and speeding out of the restaurant as downtown in Metropolis, David, now going under the name Thunderman, battles Atom Master, who refuses to give up to the hero, citing what he did to Cracklow and Poseidon as reasons not to give up. Superman arrives, smashing up her constructs as the villain grabs David, revealing that she came to Metropolis ready for Superman thanks to some scientists she kidnapped. She traps Superman in a kryptonite construct, sapping his powers as Batman deploys a gas pellet at her feet, freeing David from her grasp. David immediately grabs the woman's head, unleashing his thunder powers on her and melting her helmet into her head, demanding that she tell him where the hostages are. The woman screams their location as she falls unconscious, and Batman and Superman chide David for using such force, but he doesn't want to hear another lecture from them. He begins to realize that this Batman and Superman he's talking to are the ones from Earth Zero, as Clark cheerfully tells the man it's good to see him, and David comes in for a hug, telling Clark that he's been waiting years for this. Suddenly, he unleashes his powers on Superman, planning on getting revenge for the hero abandoning him all those years ago.